the walls or cross the line. There's a rare few who think outside the box together for the crew. To break the equations, not bound to any rule. Exposing to the world the universe's own view. It takes the talent of the craftsman, it takes the mind of the fool, to make the vision realize energy and matter in a duel. To a break, to a duel. The old man, bills was running through his head. Cheryl probably got it hiding under his bed. Penny up to Annie, making power for days. Don't listen to a word that the straight dope says. Mike building batteries to power a ship. Victor comes and talking math, that's the water spiral dip. Sean chucking plasma bolts a mile long. Sheila on the video making tones of the prongs. Burning, breaking matter, they said it couldn't be done. And to all the people in the chat, I know you're having fun. So it's time to spend your Saturday with the doping old man Bills.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Nathan, otherwise known as Old Man Bills. Joe, what's going on, brother?
It's Friday. We're talking about music.
Oh, man, it's a good day to be Friday, man. Excited.
Good stuff.
Oh, man. Hey, before we get started, man, I just want to congratulate you, man, on the flooring you've been working on. It looked awesome, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, Joe uncovered a bunch of big plank flooring under his carpet and went to town on it, man. For those of you who don't know, it's just awesome. So
It was very cool. Yeah. Well, we get into that a bit later, but for now, straight into business because we get sidetracked so easily. All right.
Lead us off.
Well, there's still a whole bunch of interesting thoughts. And I was when Nathan asked, like, well, what do you think for today? I said, the interesting thing with music really just being directly correlated to all the physics that we talk about all the time. And in fact, when I'm thinking about all of the things that are happening, I'm really actually thinking in terms of waves, and waves are experienced most apparently by us in the form of sound. And the irony, I think, and not irony, there's no coincidences like that, but when you look back as far as you can go, what you realize is that not only did they have things to make specific sounds like early instruments, but that they also tuned all these instruments to make very specific sounds. And what I find unique is that no matter where you look throughout history, the tuning scale seemed to pretty much be very similar, if not the same. Of course, it was standardized at one point in time. So everything was kind of synced up at that point. But the further back you look, you notice that certain frequencies are omnipresent in instruments and everything like that, even like into BC era. So it's very interesting to think about that, and there's so much more to do with music and the stuff we talk about.
Well, there's some instruments that have dual chords on them, and they'll play the same frequency. And once you play one, it starts to play the other harmoniously with it, which makes just a cool sound altogether.
Yeah, no, it really does. And it's the sound of the instruments playing together too is the best part of it, right? It's like it can be two totally different sounding things, but you get them together and it just they meld and combine into one sound. It's really incredible.
Well, I find it amazing that every time we look back on history, there are always two of the same instruments playing the same tune. I don't know if you've noticed that, like they'll have two drummers or they'll have two horn players or two people on strings. And I see resonance in that. Other people may not, but you know what I mean? It has to do with the tuning scale and stuff like that. And they keep in tune with everything. I think it's amazing.
It also has to do with constructive interference and resonance. So when you have two instruments that are properly tuned and two people playing the same exact thing and they're properly trained, everything is coming out more or less at the same time and interfering constructively. So, the yield of two is, not the yield of 1 + 1, but rather 1 + 1 and then the amplification of the two, combined. So there's that as well. And even the beauty of it being when things are slightly off, but they're also in tune. That's also in resonance. So now you start adding basically phases, if you want to think about it like that. Right, so you have the same instrument playing the same exact thing, except milliseconds off of a frequency. Right now, all of a sudden, you're adding phasing to that.
So check this out. I sent you guys a video, you and Sean, a little while back, and it had a guy putting a capacitor over a diode, which I just thought was interesting in itself, right? But he used this little machine, which was way more interesting when I got into it. And he was talking about the noise and the sound inside of a circuit. And it comes to Toys Maker's thing here. He says Simon's talked about tuning up the ether. Well, you're turning up the circuit the same way. It's keeping it in a resonant circuit, and it's eliminated the disturbance. And I'll say it this way: I know they knew it because ancient temples. If you see the pillars in ancient temples, okay, they'll go like this, and then they'll do it again, and then they'll go way out and then back
Mhm.
in. But when you turn that sideways, that's actually a sound wave. So it may be a music, it may be sound, it may be someone talking to you. We don't know because people didn't look into it that way.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I mean, uh, any temple or cathedral, most of them are acoustically built, even the ancient ones. In fact, more specifically, they really actually nailed it in the Middle Ages, which is weird because that was like our darkest period, right?
Yeah.
During the Middle Ages and stuff. It's like everything that was great was lost. Everybody's dying of disease. Building epic cathedrals with the best harmonics that ever existed, you know, and they understood that at that time, and that's absolutely profound. And I don't think that it was apparent to most people through history as to why things were built that way. But doesn't that tie it right back into Freemasons? What did these structures used to be made of? Well, it used to be made of brick and stone. Okay, cool. It's made of brick and stone. Well, so who's forming the geometries and all of the angles that these bricks and stones must be laid? Well, the masons. They're the ones that lay the brick and the stone, right? So
Hmm.
it's pretty interesting how one thing ties right into the next so seamlessly.
Yeah, I agree. Just real quick shout out Dennis. Just say it, Dennis. Fools, what's up, man? Can't look forward to tonight, man. We saw Tommy Maker Lightspeed is here. Aaron's here, man. Dude, I'm also excited, Joe, about some of this stuff with the music because I don't know if you ever watched the guy, and I think I sent it to him today. Julius Sumner. He's a physics guy,
Hmm.
and he talks about this stuff in detail and the tuning forks going back and forth to each other. And then he goes on to two pipes. You put one inside of the other, and you can make sound from them. You know what I mean? Stuff like
Hmm.
that, and you get resonance. And then he goes on to the strings, which is my favorite portion of the whole entire thing. And it's a very minimal portion. It's like the physics experiment. We take the little motor and you turn it, and you just hold the other side, and the string goes. And then based on the rotational speed, it'll go to one, and then it'll go to a second node, which is exactly half of it. And then you'll change the speed again, it'll go to three, and then it'll go to four, which is perfect when it comes into sounds and harmonics and how it works.
It absolutely is. It is, and I mean, the thing with the strings too, and we've all kind of heard the example, but if you've ever like went to go, buy like a guitar or a bass or something at a music shop where there's like a lot of instruments that hopefully many of them are in tune, um, you hit a note, right? If you hit an open string, you'll start to hear the other guitars in the shop start to go off, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it does happen. And what's actually interesting to think about, and it's worth noting here, is I started off playing guitar and I was really, really bad. Like, I don't know, something about the thin strings and too many of them. So like I went and picked up the bass after I picked up the guitar, and I liked the bass better, so stuck with that. And over the years, like I've owned a lot of basses. I've been in a lot of music shops. I've played a lot of basses. So the lower the frequency is, the more shit that it shakes. That's how that goes. And sort of starts to make sense why. The lower your frequency, the lower the number of hertz, right? The lower the number of hertz, the more likely it is that something's resonant frequency is going to fall into it, right? And that's what it comes down to. And that's why these super low frequencies are so powerful, because if you get into the super low frequencies, like 2, 3, 4, 6, like single hertz, or whatever, or anything very, very, very low, almost everything is divisible by this in some, uh, structured way,
Doesn't it
right?
stay longer, the lower frequencies? Like when you
Yeah.
hit the bass
Well,
on the chord?
the wavelengths are really, really big. So, it affects more area, and then it is able to also put more things into sympathetic resonance when you hit a note. So, things shake, and we see that with bass. We know that. We feel the shake, right? When,
Yeah.
the bass is playing. If you stand next to a bass amp and you stand next to a guitar amp, even if it's like the loudest show you ever been to, you might feel the guitar amp a little bit here and there, when it hits certain notes or holds certain frequencies. But you stand next to that bass amp, you're gonna feel every damn thing that it that it
Oh
puts out
yeah. Yeah,
all day,
yeah.
every day, twice on Tuesday. Yeah, you feel it all.
Oh yeah, it's easier too on your fingers. Let me
Yeah,
just say that
the
because you get
fat
to the neck
string.
of it. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean that's what I found even from a young age. Because I mean, I think I was bought my first guitar when I was like 9, 8 or 9. And, I mean, it was nothing special, it was just like a Fender Squire or whatever, and I honestly, I didn't even have, like, lessons or anything at that time, but, like, I just kinda, like, noodled around with it, and, like, I could make sounds with it and, like, make things that sounded sorta like something, but, like, I just wasn't feeling it, and then I picked up a bass and I was like, "Oh, this is much better. Why didn't I get one of these?"
Mm.
So, yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah, my mom was into like how do I say it? Not like a pipe organ, but the like digital version. You know what I mean? With the
Yeah, yeah.
Yamaha, you get it in there. And it wasn't the piano, but she was playing like green leaves and stuff like that. And I learned that one pretty well. So if I ever sat in front of a pipe organ, I could make it sound like something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
no, that's cool.
yeah, I couldn't play a piano for nothing though. That's not exactly where I could be.
Well,
Oh,
I mean, for how complicated and advanced organs are. It's remarkable that they've been around for as long as they have been,
oh, and
because
how well they tune them as well.
absolutely, and it all has to do for them. It has to do with the length of the pipes a lot of times when you're talking about a traditional organ, right?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty neat stuff, and that doesn't right. That's why we're talking about music today is because of the tie-ins, right? Well, we talk all the time about like distances and how the distances between things sets the interaction. Um, and that happens to be the case as well with an organ, right? The longer the pipe, I'm pretty sure the higher the note.
Oh
They
yeah.
taper the pipes, then it creates a different differential, right? So now your ratios change. When your ratios change, all of a sudden you get a different pitch. What's a different pitch? It's a different frequency, right? So you change in the frequency of
Oh,
the
it's a
same
difference.
thing, right?
It's a difference between a Chevy and a Ford, and between good music and Primus.
Primus sucks. They're awesome, though.
Oh man, yeah. Wow. I don't know if you caught that one, Joe.
Well, oh,
He's
big.
playing the single
You can
flute.
play the male organ really well, huh? Does he play the skin flute as well? I'm pretty sure it's the same. If you can play one, you can play the other. Is that it?
Oh, I love it. Oh. Oh man, yeah, that ain't gonna get you in the history books, that's for sure.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. Oh no, but it's cool, man, because what people don't realize is tuning comes into everything. So you don't think that you're tuning your like transformer or something like that, but actually, if you tune your transformer to your motor and they start singing together, man, those things go so much better. It's so much faster, so much less impedance in it. Yeah.
Now there are certain types of things, right, that could actually self-tune, and that's what does that come down to? It comes back down to that ground state, to that well,
Hmm.
right? So when you force one thing through the other, and then you force it back where it came, it normalizes and then is allowed to move on as a different version of itself, which is just a tuned version of itself in that type of relationship. So it's actually quite interesting how something can change as it moves along. And talking about electrical systems, you have a current that's going through all different vector changes, and as every time it reaches one of these vector points, it changes frequency. And the change of the frequency changes its voltage and its amperage. Is that everything gets screwy, and it keeps on going. Okay, fine. It's made it back to the return. Is it the same as it? Is it the same as it came out? No, no longer. Right. So, well, what happens? It gets dumped back in the well, and then it becomes potential. It's normalized, and then it comes back out where it came in a tuned fashion. So there's these things that like self-regulate. Um, it's no different than a river flowing to a waterfall, right? And then that there's almost always like some kind of big pooling area at the end of the waterfall, and all the water kind of is much more still after it hits the bottom before it returns into a flow state.
Hmm.
So it's kind of interesting to think about it that way because nature does it too.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, I like it in the way when they talk about the monks and they talk about anti-gravity, about the rock going up the mountain,
Oh yeah.
and you see them over there, and I don't think a lot of people pay attention to it. I think some people do, but they put this thing in a bowl, and you wonder why it's in the bowl. Well, just go over there and take your cup and run the ring, on the top of it, and you start to hear sound. And it's because it's directing sound all against each other. And then they start playing these horns, which is double horns,
Mhm.
okay, at the same time. They start playing drums at the same time, and they put everything in the resonance. It's almost like they have a just one of those locks, like a safe lock, and they're turning it back and forth on exactly which resonance frequencies to hit in order to get this thing to shoot around the bowl. And then finally it just shoots up into the mountainside, right up to where they wanted it. So I always find that interesting, and people don't really correlate the two together. But then you look at the walls of Jericho and you find the same things. They're
Right.
over there with the horns, they're over with the drums, they're, you know what I mean, they're over there blowing ram's horns together, and it's like, okay, there's something to this. You know what I mean? And you say, well, what was the Ark of the Covenant putting off? Well, if it was anything in tune with resonance and frequency, it was putting it off, and you get the same effect because they're both moving stones,
Mhm.
and they're both doing it with the same types of horns. It's telling you a little bit more about the story. You know what I mean? About how music ties into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the bowl is a great example, like you said, and that's just a form of geometric wave vectoring. So you're taking what's there and what's needed. You're able to induce um, the object into a state of resonance while still capturing and amplifying and then redistributing that same resonant frequency in a manner that's allowing for what you're looking for. And in that case, you're looking for upward motion. So where's the upward motion come from? Well, I mean, it comes from all sorts of different places in that circumstance, doesn't it? Comes from the resonance that um first of all, it's perturbating the air just generally, right? So you're actually saturating the entire environment with this resonance. And once you bring something into that same resonance, it becomes part of that system, right? That's
Hmm.
sort of what it comes down to. But the hard thing is the liftoff, right? Once it's up, it's up. You've already saturated the area.
Yeah.
So now it's just part of the area. But what the bowl allows for is for that motion to actually, um, you know, accumulate in such a way and put pressure on the bottom of it in order to initiate that lift. Because as you know, what's the enemy of resonance is dampening. Okay, what's dampening? Or, dampening is, more or less when you have two things attached that are non-resonant with one another, and therefore they're oscillating at different rates,
It's
due to the
noise.
contact. Yeah, due to the contact creating, you know, um, deconstructive interference, creating turbulence and so on. Right. So you would need to do away with that. So how do you get under the boulder if not for the bowl? And that tends to be
Yeah.
the circumstance at hand.
Yeah, check this out. They do what is it, cymatics, and they put the little plate down and they put the speaker under it, and it makes a shape, right? And you put down the salt on there, and it makes a shape on the plate. So we look at the anti-gravity thing that they did with the speakers, right? And you realize something very profound. They use two speakers aimed at each other that are resonant to each other in order to make the gravity lift, but cymatics is one. So you wonder what the shape on the plate would be if you had a speaker above it as well, and that you got it both in tune the correct way. Because anti-gravity is shown with those little balls of water, everything in between two speakers, it shows where it can sit, right? But then what are you missing? What was the shape going to be had you done it right and put the speaker here and the speaker here? Kind of interesting. It might look more like the temples and what they're showing on the walls of them instead of what we're actually seeing.
I don't disagree with that at all. And I think that what you just said kind of ties in with something else you said the other day, out of context, of course, but it just has to do with, these constants, right? So anytime that you're trying to achieve something like this, it, it is always going to boil down to the same things. It's going to be offset differentials, right? That's what it's going to be. So you have to, create a state of, offset differentials here that exceed that of the ambient. And the problem with the ambient is that it is not a constant, you know, like in fact, to get the constant, you would need the constant plus all the variables, which kind of then makes it not constant. The less I knew, like if you need to add variables to a constant, it's not constant. So obviously there's fluctuation. And knowing exactly what the environment is and being able to calculate these things, they were apparently able to do all the way, for who knows how long. They kind of knew it all along. And some, like the Tibetans, may not have ever lost it. I mean, there's accounts of people that have witnessed it. I mean, I always say I take everything with a grain of salt. If I never saw it with my own two eyes and I can't personally replicate it, then it didn't happen. You can replicate it at a small scale, but we all know that things that work at a small scale don't necessarily equal up at the large scale. The fact is they do. There's just more variables, right? So the fact that they were able to situate everything in, because everything, in order for the stone to end up on the ledge up there, right? Like the example you gave, which I think is the example most people know, right? Um, that means that the bowl has to be situated in the proper location. That you
Mhm.
have to have an understanding of what your uh, ambient resonances are and adjust for it, because that's going to offset the frequency that you're producing. Um, that means that you need to be in tune. The boulder needs to be capable of being in tune with your instrumentation in that circumstance, and that there's going to be certain parts of the boulder, because it's asymmetric, I would assume, right?
Mhm.
That you're going to need a certain arrangement of the people playing the horns around this thing in order to get the full effect of it lifting off, to again counteract the differentials. That's sort of what it boils down
Yeah,
to.
it gives it a
And
vector direction.
gives it a vector direction. And then on top of that, you might have certain parts of the boulder that maybe aren't going to fall into resonance as easy as other pieces. Now you have to add layering of frequencies, which would probably be wise in the first place, just to be able to amplify without interfering.
Hmm.
So, that's how you would do that is if you have something like, let's say, double the frequency, and it's, you start the frequency at a certain rate versus the other one. Now all of a sudden they're constructively interfering every other. So it becomes like a phase situation where you have spikes of amplification, but the waveform is continuing along.
Think about this, Joe. Uh, I was showing you in a video earlier, and I think on the cover of this one on the thumbnail, we show an instrument that has double strings. So they're two strings for the same exact frequency. Okay,
Mhm,
you start playing one, the other one goes off. What I find interesting about that is when I put my coils into resonance frequency and the other one starts, it's the same process. I didn't change the process. I just simply turned the other one on and it picked up energy. And it's just picking up from the environment around it. That's what I find so interesting about it because then you think about it and you go, well, if my Tesla coil was tuned down on the hertz level, I could literally play every instrument on a guitar without ever touching it. You know what I mean? Or every string, I should say, instrument. That's a crazy old man. Anyway, I could play every string without touching it, right? And I think that would be very cool to do. You know what I mean?
it would be, right.
Yeah, you could literally take it like a piano, plug it in, and play each Tesla coil and get a perfect tune to every single thing out there, as long as you set them at the correct frequency and have something in resonance first. Dude, I think that's absolutely astonishing. And I think that's the key to everything in the universe. Because like your chakras and everything that it comes into that you'd get into, work on all of that. And if you knew the tuning frequency of each of them, and you could sit there on a little piano and just push the little buttons for each one, you could learn the tuning of each one to put them in the correct order for each other.
Mhm.
That's something I think is going to happen in the future here, Joe, based on all the stuff that we're doing and other people are doing with the experiments around the community, and how much everybody loves sacred geometry when we get into it. I see that in the future happening, man. As soon as somebody just says, "Okay, I see it," I mean,
Mhm.
because that'll be the aha moment is when somebody hears something and they just stop right dead in their tracks and they go, "I found it." You know what I mean? And then boom, it'll be over. We're all here about it.
So this is a little interesting, I would suppose, right? Now, obviously, superconductivity being a huge part of the things that we're aiming for here, right? And we're trying to achieve. Well, what is superconductivity in the first place? I mean, well, there's no friction in the context of superconductivity, right? Well, what's a major um, proponent of creating sound, right? Would be friction, right? It's ultimately the friction that is breaking up the laminosity of anything to then create the disturbance that is sound. Does that make sense? And
Okay,
I mean,
I'm following you.
now the interesting thing is that when you start to correlate the idea that creating sound by friction, right, would be extraordinarily difficult under superconductive properties. Okay. Well, that means that you've reduced the friction down to almost nothing, which is why it's not creating, right? But if you make that inverse and you realize that the whole reason that that is because everything's in the lowest energy state, right? In that situation, what you start to realize is that there's very little difference between there being it at the lowest energy state or everything being at the same energy state because nothing is not nothing ever almost. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So when you equalize the energy states of everything in an environment, interrupting everything else around it because it's all the same becomes entirely difficult. Like the things could interact, but it's not an interruption; it's resonant. You see, and that I think that that's the point that I'm making is that again when it comes to offset differentials, right? You need to create a huge offset differential of your ambient environment within your local environment and have the local environment stuff all be in that exact resonance. So in your local environment, there is almost no offset differential. Now all of a sudden your ambient is set to zero, and everything in that local environment is one of the same. Therefore they can interact, however, they cannot necessarily interfere. And I think that that's significant.
Okay, so real quick on that. What if they just learn the sound and where it travels? So we talked about a church, right? And the sound bounces around. Okay, it's the same thing on a lake. If you're standing in the middle of it, we gave that example a lot. What if the mountain was the same way? What if they knew that there was a path that went up just in that way? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Where the sound would travel better and already go. And I'll give you an example of where I've seen this. I was over with Courtney in over here by my house. We're doing that big old Tesla coil, right? That he's got over there, right? Courtney Sam's.
Oh yeah.
And what we saw was is the air around it for a barrier about 4 inches off of it, Joe, would come off and be hazy. Okay.
Mhm.
And then before it struck anything else, you'd see the haze go out like this, and then boom, the lightning went right through it. The voltage went right through it. So I'm thinking about the bouncing of the room. You know what I mean? How the sound goes around everywhere, and there's a path for it already, and it's already structured, and
Yeah.
then it boom, and
So
we know that
yeah,
the
man. I'm so happy you observed that, because not only is that super cool and not typically tangible, but that's been the entire point of this shit all along, all of it. Right. So like you have this channel, if this sounds familiar, that is being created. And where this channel is able to interact with another offset in the environment, and it's able to pull enough of that, it's going to strike. Because one thing about the electrical circuit that we've now discovered, okay, at this point, um, and is widely ignored in our technology, is the exchange that occurs. It's always an exchange. It's a back and a forth. They say it's a back and a forth because they close the circuit and they make you see it one way, and they
Mhm.
make you see it as a flow and a return. Guess what, fellers? Not not how it goes. It 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 pulls from the return before it connects to the return. What is it pulling if that's not hooked up to the energy source? Well, it's pulling friggin' energy, because why, it's a conductor in that case, or it's something conductive or conductive potential, or has potential in it in order for it to connect. Some potential has to be able to travel through it. It has to be able to pull in order to connect, and that's the whole thing. That's why a lot of this stuff is like um, really, really misunderstood. I would suppose at best. I mean, it's
Well,
you would
okay,
never think.
yeah. So he says Einstein Rosen bridge. That would be technically the way I would see it. And they've
Pretty
told
much.
stories. Yeah, they told stories about how the energy in the air structures through tunnels, and that you could pass through and go extreme distances. You know what I mean? On very low tanks of fuel, or at speeds that eliminate inertia because there's no air, there's nothing in there, there's no energy to push against anymore to get that wall. So you're
Okay.
flying through.
So let's do this, because now this becomes very interesting with the Einstein-Rosen bridge, right? So if you could travel one way through the Einstein-Rosen bridge, and we're proposing here that it's an exchange, okay? That means that the reverse is also possible. So if you open it up on one side, well, then you could also go through the other, right? There would have to be an exchange. Now, if you have this ability for the one-way flow and the other way flow, okay, as this exchange, that means that in the middle, there's got to be no man's land of got to make it through the middle. It sort of has to be because there has to be a point of interaction between the two for the exchange to occur, right? And as we know, whenever you're dealing with two parallel, um, forces that are going to exchange, they ultimately decide to cross before they split into their own separate ways. This is what they do. So again, it becomes very interesting that there's like this middle bit that might not be this way or that way exactly, right?
Well, see, I don't think there's going to be one in there. The middle zone. I think it's going to go without it. I think the zone's going to open. Okay, as the middle, but I don't think there's going to be like a node or something in the center where you're passing through. Let me just say it this way: when I saw it, it was structuring the air around an open area. Okay,
Mhm.
and it looked like just tunneling. Is what it reminded me of, and then it would go through and then dissipate. So let me throw something out there for you since we've all watched it. The MH370 videos that Ashton brings up. Here's the interesting part about that. If you have the three orbs out there, what are they doing? And the answer is they're opening the vortex. That's the only thing that they can do, is that they're structuring the vortex so it is a vortex on one side, but what has to be here has to be on the other side for that to open properly. Okay? It would have to do the mirror. And we've talked about this several times.
Mhm.
And I want to bring this up because we saw validation of the mirror in the amplification of the RAV. As soon as we saw the inside coloring of the mirrored effect in there go, it was darker pink. Then we saw the outside field build out, and we're like, okay, now we got something, okay? Because it meant that there was something on the other side. There's another dimensional factor, whether it was going back to open air on the other side or whether it was doing it through another dimension that we don't fully understand, or maybe it was in the Planck scale. Whatever it was doing, it clearly showed a second side to it.
Yeah. So glad you brought this up. Something something that we never really went into all too much, but um energy vectoring, which as we know is the mechanism of the electromagnetic mode that is manifest, right, is directly correlated to dimensionality. Okay. And because static is a single point, it's many single points with no definite vectoring. Okay. And as soon as it, um, starts in a travel between points, through a conductor in that case, or, something that it's able to travel through if it's a waveform, right? Then you move from one dimension to two dimensions. You have a plane. Even if it's got a waveform to it, it's like, well, no, it's not a plane. No, it's a plane. It's moving in that fashion. And there's a difference between something being moving in a fashion and actually having dimensionality. See, at any one given time, it doesn't have dimensionality. Now, if you take a current and then you start spinning it around, and in interaction, this is the critical component of it, in interaction with that above and below it, right, through that spiraling motion, now you have a vortex, right, which is a transitional phase. It is the third dimension of it, because now you have, the 2D now has a third axis, right, and it's now got height as well as dimensionality.
Well,
So, but hold on, what happens when you start vortexing it? Well, the current goes in the vortex, but then the field that builds around the vortexing current is a magnetic field, which is a toroidal 4D field. Okay, so this is sort of it. Then when you look at scalar and how it ultimately blasts out, it blasts out on a plane in 2D. So when the breakdown occurs, it starts to go up to go back down. And how does it go back down? It goes back down through through compression, and interference through that compression. So when you have the only way to get the compression is through the magnetic field, in the internal geometries. And then once you get the compression and it starts with the interference and you get your scalar component, that takes it back to 3D to 2D, blasted out. And at that point, it's almost returned to potential again when it goes into a diffuse state. See, it's literally you could take all the vectoring and trace it back to itself.
Mhm.
Quite interesting.
Well, okay, so check this out. You say scalar, you're talking about flat plane. I always see it because we're in the Earth, it's in spherical plane. So, what it would take to start that effect is that you would have to know the frequency that you're at in the atmosphere at the height that you are in the atmosphere, right? In order to hit that scalar portion right there, that's the most dense in energy, right? And then at that point, it's no different than creating like a tornado or something like that because you're just doing a tornado with openings on both sides. So at that point, it's not that hard because when we look at the rabbit and we want to go open air and we want to go to instead of a plasmoid, we go to ball lightning. Well, what's the difference? Well, the difference is one's in open air. So what do you have to do? You have to find the curl by finding the scalar zone in order to hit the curl right. Because in every experiment Sean's shown us so far, behind closed doors, it's all about that finding that curl point. And that curl point's going to be found right there on the scalar in the most dense part of the energy.
Yep.
So as soon as the anode, which is the high voltage in the sky, finds the cathode, which is the energy in the bottom, we have two energy sources, which is going to create our tornado effect, but then it needs a curl. And as soon as
So
it finds the curl, yeah.
so I love the curl. The curl is that parabolic sweep that I've always talked about, right? So it's this parabolic sweep that occurs. Now, the weird thing about that parabolic sweep is that it seems that almost regardless of the material, well, not regardless, but like, you know, vastly improves the odds. If you actually were to add physical geometry to the the surface to formation, that you could actually um, encourage. You can't really induce, but you could actually encourage that parabolic sweep just through actual physical geometry. Because at the end of the day, before the formation, the arc is acting like a fluid. So, as you could direct fluid in in certain ways and then bring it into different angular relationships with other geometries and create exactly what's going to happen. So if you have water pouring down at a 45-degree angle, it's going to basically splash, which you see, right? It goes into fingers.
Mhm.
Okay, cool, but it's still got momentum to it. If you start to swoop it at that point geometrically, it it entices that motion. It
Mhm.
all it is physically revectoring it. And if you think it's any different than coiling, a wire,
Yeah,
like it's not.
but it's easier than that because we actually see storms do it all the time.
Hmm.
We're watching it happen, and we're not realizing that below every tornado, there's something going on inside the earth. That's why they continue to repeat in the same place over and over and over again. And the only difference is you turned it sideways. That was
Mm.
it. You learned what it was, and you used it to your advantage and got it to turn sideways because the inside of the tornado is exactly the same. It's the most energy, it's the quietest place, and they have no inertia inside of it because it's all the energy is pulled to the outsides of it. So you're
Yeah.
flying right through it like it's nothing.
Well, the reason that it's able to last for so long is because it goes into a state of laminosity, and through that laminosity, um, it gets closer and closer and closer to superconductive,
Mhm.
right? So it's just interacting less and less with the environment, and it's basically slipping by. So it doesn't have much working against it. And because it's got a vacuum force and, as well as an explosive force, as far as the outcome goes, because it goes up and disperses, right? So you have all these pressure differentials that exist. And that's why these things could last for so long as they do, because if you were just to sit there and simulate it, right, on a small scale with something that you could do where you're spinning some air, if you notice, as soon as you kill the source, it goes away, right? But this is somewhat self sustaining and feeding and it probably has less to do with the energies at play and more to do with the initial state of its formation.
Well, hold on. Let me speak to that just a little bit, because this is where the confusion comes in. You're not putting out the energy to keep it going. You're simply starting the process because the energy already exists in the earth.
Hmm.
You're taking an energy that interacts with the earth and giving it the curl. That's all you're doing. The
That's why
rest
it
of
goes
it
from
is the
point A to
energy of
point
the
B.
earth.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that like this isn't something I even know about to say anything. Like I wish I kind of did, but does that mean that the tornado ends at the cloud that was the basis of its formation? I propose no,
No,
right?
I don't think so.
I propose no.
Yeah, I'm there with you on that one, Joe. I think honestly, we already have the answer of what it caused by. It was the impulse, and we see it in nuclear weapons when they do the test because it's an implosion. It's the opposite of what we're doing. So what we always see is as soon as you pulse something outwards, it dissipates quickly. But if you impulse it, then it changes the field of energy around things. So it's reversing what you're thinking about. It's now interacting with the environment, and it's not cutting off the environment. It's thickening the environment. That's the thing.
Hmm.
Everybody thinks, "Oh my God, you're creating a field bubble." So what the field bubble will do is create a bubble around you. But no, it's just thickening the environment. It's changing the viscosity of the environment around it. So it's interacting with that field that we can never normally touch. We never can get to it. And that's why people fail in anti-gravity experiments, is they don't understand that. You need the field that actually interacts with it, and that's the impulse or implosion field that you would get. That's the action that you need. That's what's scary about it.
Yeah, there's always two sides to it. And I mean, they knew that, like you said, from like nuclear testing, right? When they were able to split an atom, they were like, oh, cool. But they saw another side of it. And what they realized is, okay, there's a mild implosive force that occurs as a result of this explosion. Okay, cool. But it was mild, right? But then what they realized is that, you know, every foot has its own shoe, still attached to the same body, right? So then they realized that if fission is what they're inducing, that fusion's the other shoe. And uh, what they realized under those circumstances was to get the huge implosive force, they have to use the huge explosive force, which is why they use that as a detonation device for the greater reaction. And again, fusion in itself isn't necessarily a destructive force, right? And fission is. But when you combine the two and it's two sides of the coin, and you're bringing them into that counter state where it's an explosion and an implosion, what does that mean? Well, that means that you have a constructive interference, meaning that your second force, your second thing, is going to amplify. So that's going to be orders of magnitude stronger than either one of the two could be individually.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They basically distorted everything and then wrapped it into coherence. And you saw it as soon as the thing went off. Okay, it went out, but it immediately structured, and it has the same exact structure every time that they do it. So it's literally building a, how do I want to say this? Just like the same thing the Rav's building. It's building coherent resonance inside of it and structuring the whole device as soon as it goes off. Well, once you get past the initial, you know what I mean, distortion of it, which is what it takes to separate atoms. And how do I say this? Because we see it all the time. We see a thunderstorm generating stuff. We ionize the air, which is part of the explosion process. And then that distorts all the molecules in it, and they're able to separate in a distortion field, and then they come back into coherence.
Yeah, it's absolutely correct. And to build on that, and with the RAF, right? And I don't know that I've ever said it in these exact words before, but what's really happening on both sides of the RAV and why the anode cathode relationship is so significant in this. Okay, it has to do with everything that we were just talking about and what Nathan just said. What it's actually doing on both sides is it's creating saturation of itself. Okay, and by creating saturating a saturation of itself and its own energy types and densities, right? It's basically either bringing everything into that same energy state, okay, or pushing it out. So what you're left with is these two different things that the entire area that they're in is saturated the same as they are. Um, and they want to connect with one another, right? So what they end up doing is they end up exchanging, like we've been saying. And when this exchange occurs, you know, it's a strange thing because it's like taking uh, the entropic hypothetical box of entropy where there's the red marbles and the blue marbles, right? They're already separated on both sides. Okay, and what you're going to allow them to do is you're going to allow them to feed and mix together, but that feed and mingling is only to satisfy the fact that there's now the interaction,
Hmm.
because those same bits that you fed in are actually going to cycle back to where they came from, bringing other pieces of the other part with it. Okay. So what they end up being is two different things working in conjunction with one another at an offset differential. Okay. And in a total exchange, that's a state of and this I've said before, it's a state of non-equilibrium equilibrium, right? So by definition is a non-equilibrium because the parts are separate, but it's an equilibrium because they are actually mixing in an equal fashion and in this exchange where they're never mixing but they're together, so it's controlled. And then the result that you end up getting in this circumstance is the RAV. And what is the RAV? The RAV is the well. The RAV is where everything goes to get sorted and then exchanged back where it came. So it's acting as a bullshit filter for this.
Yeah. Well, hold on. It's when it's in coherence and you see them going and going around each other, right? Well, I think that's what's going on in the bowl when we get to the monks and stuff, right? I think they're bringing the resonance into a coherent structure, okay? And then what happens is when they hits the distortion immediately throws the rock. Okay, it's in such a state where it should be, right, where it's
Mhm.
happy. It's going around, and then boom! Immediately, it gave it distortion, and it flew. Okay, it didn't want to be there at all. But I think
That
that's
makes
what
sense.
propulsion is too.
I don't disagree with that. Both things, and that makes sense. And but in what Nathan just said, one critical thing wasn't said in what you just said, which is that the area surrounding it, the air that it's going to travel through,
Hmm.
that is in greater resonance with the rock, and that's the point. So when the distortion point hits, it is a repulsive force, and then it is part of its ambient environment and equal to it, and then it's just there, and that's the point. Um, eh, so and that really comes down to mass, right? Because you know that it's going to be much more difficult to put the rock into a state of resonance than it is going to be the ambient environment. So the ambient environment is going to reach saturation faster than the rock
I
because
get
of the
that.
mass. Because of the mass. However, inversely, the rock will hold resonance longer than that of the ambient environment once the source is cut. This is how physics works. I say it all the time. Like, we talk about fringe things, but we don't really break physics. Like, the physics is okay. The constants might be wrong. Some of the math might be dicey, but the general stuff makes sense. And the idea that the rock would hold the resonance, greater than the air, just simply makes sense. Which means the inverse is true too about the saturation times. See what I mean?
No, it's like Tesla and his earthquake machine. It took him what 2 days to get that thing to resonate the building next to him. It doesn't happen overnight. You know what I mean? It takes a while to get that. We don't leave anything on more than 10 minutes in the experiment. So how would we know? I mean, I left the Tesla coil on all night once, and that was as far as I got. It was not in several days. But I can tell you this, the longer that you have these things on, the more things that go into resonance with it. You know what I mean? Even if it's sympathetic, it starts to pull everything in. So I've had that happen before. So, but I
Yeah.
think that, because I think the distortion point's an amplification. It's a massive dump. So I was working on that with my capacitor bank. So check this out. Instead of just pulling on one capacitor, right? I figured out the numbers. So I went from this little wave that goes like this, okay, right across the screen, to it jumping off of the screen by hitting four at a time.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so it was like it was going like it's barely going. It's like, hey man, this thing's barely on. Then I hit it and it goes boom right through the roof, right? And then you get this field that just goes everywhere. I just thought it was such an awesome thing. I'm thinking, man, I was talking about my gravity fly earlier today when I made a video, and I'm like, dude, I'm using that. Like,
So that's weird because right, like it builds up locally, but it's looking for that connection. Now, once that connection is made, it blasts out. And when
yes,
it blasts out, then it collapses and it forms. What does that sound like? Sounds like the wrath, man. And that's the point, isn't it? Because I've been saying the same things all along. Everything is the same. Is it? Like you could come to me with a marital problem, and I'll explain exactly what all your problems are, and tell you how it's the same. Your exchange rate's off, buddy. You know, but she thinks it's not.
yeah, you have to work on that.
Yeah.
To get that fair exchange. Oh
Oh yeah.
man. So yeah, I'm restarting that project, Joe. My gravity flyer.
Oh yeah.
Um, so it's kind of crazy. So we had a conversation a while back about using stuff that actually we knew worked, right? So we know how the wrap builds out in the fields that it does. Well, it just so happens it matched the same field that I built a long time ago in how that field bubble worked, right? So I'm pretty happy with that. And then I looked at the lifter as vector direction, and we talked about it this morning, but I'll just fine tune this for you. We have a wire at the top and we have aluminum at the bottom, and most people just get the effect of ion wind, which will make a certain amount of weight lift, which is a very minuscule amount. But if you understood it correctly and you put the plate at the bottom and you were able to put weight on it and then it lifted, you understood that you created vector direction, which means that you gave it a direction to go to by using energy. And that's what I was excited about because I'm looking at it going, that's what I'm missing. I've created the field bubble. Now I need vector direction. I need to move it. And you can't just go over and walk up to it and pick it up. You get shocked the living daylights out of you. Okay. Because it's all super high voltage going everywhere. So I was excited about that. And I'm thinking, the only thing that was missing was I have a center plate in there that got in my way. It was
Yeah.
causing three
Uh-huh.
extra steps that didn't need to happen.
So I feel like I've known this for a long time, but I don't know why I've never thought to say it, but really, it reminded me today when we were talking about this subject before the show. And Nathan had posed that exact question to me. Do I think that lifters, right, work off of vector direction? And my answer was, well, yes. And the explanation that I gave had to do with, once again, an energy exchange, right? And an
Mhm.
offset differential. And when you have that offset differential, there's going to be like a remainder, and that remainder is going to basically get pushed out of the magnetic field that's being created by the rest. And that's the mechanism of the wind, so to speak. But what's the problem? Well, the problem with a lifter in its traditional form, okay, is that the distancing and the way that the offset differentials come into play to create the wind are on the outside of the magnetic field, okay, and therefore they are pushed out, which is the wind, okay. So what does that mean, and what is it missing? Well, it's in the wrong part of the magnetic field. It needs to be compressed, okay. It needs to be accumulated and compressed, and then redistributed through the outer part. So
Yes.
you get the wind secondary to the compression. If you just have the wind with no compression, then your wind is as good as the breeze that it is. Um,
I
and
don't
then
think it works on the wind at all.
it
I
doesn't.
don't
Oh,
think.
I
No,
mean, it
no, no,
works off
no.
of the charge, but I mean, the wind itself, though, does have what to do because even though it's not the wind itself lifting it up, it
It's the
is,
movement of the
but
energy.
it's the movement of the energy that is the wind that's moving it up. I mean,
Yeah, but
it's very
let's just
nuanced, but
let's make it kind of clear here. The wind may move the energy to the right places, you know, what I mean, around it and to the right structure, but it is not the force driving it because there's nowhere near enough for any of that to happen. Because as soon as you exceed probably what 10 grams, you know what I mean, on a lifter, you're done with wind because 2.4 meters per second is not going to get you there at all. So it's there for structure, but it's not there for any type of lift. I just want to make that very clear because these things are working on creating a potential as a capacitor to the sky and not a capacitor to the ground. That's why it uses the impulse of the field instead of the pulse of the field. It's looking for a different direction because it's working opposite of traditional pulses where say your Tesla coil is tied into the grounding on the number 2 and it pulls it up and you get extra energy, right? That's your capacitance to ground and it's wireless to the top of it. Well, this is working on a different way. It needs the energy that's in the atmosphere, so it's pulling it the opposite direction.
right. You're not looking for the spike. You're looking for the dip. And but regardless, though, I mean, the spike is still there, which is the interesting thing. Don't forget that the spike is still there. It's just on the other side of the equation, so to speak, that's allowing for that dip. Um, yeah, but again, there's got to be like a couple forms of different compression. There's got to be internal compression, but then there's also got to be compression of the outside field as well, in order to redirect and revector what's coming out. So it's it literally has to be built out in layers, which we know, right? And then there's a couple different ways to do that, both actively and passively, and that's what it
So
boils down to.
here's my thought on it. The ion wind is breaking down the molecules inside the field to a gaseous state. It's taking them out of whatever form they're connected to, separating them, put them in the gaseous state so that we can build gaseous layers around it like we would plasma layers around the rad. Okay? That's where I think it's coming from. It's literally ionizing and breaking them apart. And we've seen that when Alexi did it and we saw that stuff coming up. It looks like he was smoking in the room. No. That was getting rid of the extra stuff that was out of there and keeping the gaseous state that it needed to inside of it.
Yeah, right. Well, that makes sense too. Oh, there's rough words going on in the chat here.
Go ahead, what's up?
Evidently, wind isn't real. Did you know this?
You can't direct wind. It isn't.
Okay, hold on. So,
Go ahead.
what is wind? Well, I'm dead ass serious. What is wind?
I don't know. It's just movement in the air. I don't know.
How so? How does air move? How does things move?
I don't
It's
know.
a pressure
Pressure?
differential. It's a
Yeah.
pressure differential. That's all it is. That's what wind is, a pressure differential. You have high pressure and it's building up and it's up against a wall. And as soon as it
Yeah.
breaks through that wall, well, then that pressure differential is in a low pressure zone in a state of expanding. That expanding air then creates movement in an expanding direction of air in this case, or energy, or whatever it is. So it's a pressure differential that breaks through the equilibrium zone, and it has to do this. It has to do this because there's not enough low pressure to diffuse out the high pressure. You see?
Yeah, but that still makes wind.
Of course that makes wind. That's
Okay,
the
well, he
point.
said it. He said it wasn't real.
I don't know why he said that. I just thought it was that was an invitation to explain wind.
Oh, okay.
I mean, is it real? I mean,
Well, he says you break it down really about how it's not real. He keeps saying it's not real. I think he's messing with us, Joe. I think that's what it is.
I
Oh
don't
man.
really know. I wish I knew more about that opinion. That way I can pick it apart, because I can't say if I agree or disagree with it if I don't know where it's coming from.
Laughing at you. Yeah, you got us. Yeah, you got me.
Yeah,
That was
exactly.
me. I'll raise
Cool.
my hand to that.
Yep.
Oh man, it reminded me of those
Love you,
people
bro.
that think we're in the Matrix or something. Oh no
Listen, I
way!
mean, we might be. Who knows? Sabine says
Hey,
we're.
the universe calculates math way better than we do, so it must be the Matrix. Yeah. No, go back and write another paper. Tell me something good that makes me interested and involved in it. You know what I mean? I'm not into that.
Well,
So,
I mean, whether the Matrix doesn't have to be digital,
but
the
they're saying it in the way of like we're Neo in the Matrix. They're not saying it in the way that you might say it through all the different dimensions of reality.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Basically, we're all just the same shit in different states of density.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're not saying no. They were being literal, and I'm like, well, okay, yeah, okay. We're in the black hole too. Let's go ahead and throw that one in there. We're in the black hole. We're getting close to the white hole. Yeah, that's that kind of stuff drives me nuts, man. It's like you get paid to do that. Like I could have told you a better story.
I
You know what I
prefer the
mean?
pink hole person.
I think we all do. Well, I shouldn't say that. That people like the brown one,
Hey,
but
listen, tastes great.
that
Let's fill it.
oh man, his face is flat. You know what? Honestly, man, and I hate to say this, and I shouldn't because I'm going to end up using the term a lot. I think they came out with the whole thing about grids and stuff like that, and then flat earthers ran with it. They're like, "Oh, so you say everything's flat in space, therefore we must have flat Earth, right?" And I think that's honestly where it comes from. It's a misunderstanding of the geometry and physics, and they go, "Oh no, no, you said it's on a flat grid, so everything works off of that grid, so it must be a flat Earth." I, or they just say some stupid stuff, man. That I can't even fathom how that would work.
So,
Like,
but if Earth is flat, it's still not a plane. So we know that things don't naturally form just a flat object like that, that everything that consolidates in some kind of wannabe spherical type shape, even if it doesn't do a good job at doing it, regardless, it's still not flat. And if you look at nature, the only flat anything that you see in nature is, if it's crystalline fracturing, and that makes sense. Why does it make sense? Because crystals grow up in three-dimensional structures on two-dimensional planes, the ones that fracture flat, at least. You see what I mean? So that when you ever talk about cleavage and how a particular crystalline structure cleaves, okay, that all has to do with how that structure builds up. Rocks that build up in three-dimensional structures, they don't cleave flat, okay? But ones that build up in two-dimensional ones do. The fact is that there's no way that Earth is flat for that very reason. Like, this isn't a cleavage plane. It's just not a cleavage plane. It's not. It's round because that's what things do. It's
yeah, who
not what
doesn't
things.
like
It's
cleavage?
not things don't do that. It's things do that.
Hey, you asked about James. So I'll just answer the question. Last time I saw one of his videos, okay, he started off talking about the shaft thing and all the markings on it, and then he got some weird effects going on. The next thing I know is he's eating rotisserie chicken on his channel, and he's talking to you, and then he had deviled eggs one day, and then he didn't want to put water on his shaft, and then it was killing grass. I mean, look, past what it is, I haven't seen anything interesting come out of it. To be very honest with you,
Who is
I
this?
thought the
I
rotisserie
missed that
chicken
part.
was good.
I
Uh,
missed who you're talking about.
remember James and his big shaft? His shaft, the big metal object that's like,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah. That's what I'm talking about. So on his
Oh, it
channel,
went right over my head. Yeah, gotcha. The alien probe.
yeah, I
Yeah.
hope it doesn't go over your head, man, and fall down. You'd be in trouble. That thing
Yeah.
is big. Um, Anyway, no, because like I was watching his channel and he was chowing down on some chicken, and I'm like, dude, I'd like to be chowing down on some chicken, and that looked good and all, but then he got the devil eggs, and I'm like, okay, this is just getting ridiculous at this point. All we're doing is learning about what the guy's eating for lunch. I'm not learning anything else.
I mean, listen, if the guy was genuinely smart, he'd be using like Sora right now to have that like flying metal penis, like deliver him the deviled eggs, and then he'd have an awesome channel. Like even if it's
Yeah.
totally fake and everybody knows it, like awesome channel, bro.
Oh yeah, dude. If that thing opened
Like
up and delivered it, yeah.
yeah, right. It like flies in. It's got like a little maid apron on. You know what I mean? It grows
Dude,
arms and hands him a plate of deviled eggs.
okay,
And, you
if
know,
there's a good-looking
it's pretty
girl with
dope.
a maid's outfit and that thing were on OnlyFans and you're paying money to watch it, okay? That
No.
you're not, yeah, that's not happening on his channel.
Yeah, probably not. Well, anyway, I'm not gonna talk too much smack, but I guess it was quick off of that one. I guess he got his 15 minutes of fame and moved on with it.
Yeah, it seems so, man.
Limited say I
That's
can eat 37 deviled eggs, no problem, but I can never eat 37 eggs for breakfast. Yeah, I
oh,
something like I don't even love eggs, but deviled eggs is another story,
dude,
right?
I wouldn't want to be in the same house with you,
No,
limited.
no
If you
way.
do that, no way. Dude,
I
even making the deviled eggs, I don't want to be in the same room, but especially when they come out the other end.
what this goes to show how the arrangement of something makes such a difference because if you made me egg salad and you're like here I'd be like thanks I'm all right you know
Yeah,
but you bring a plate of deviled eggs out and it's basically all the same shit just like arranged a little bit differently and I'm like oh nice there you go make sure that they're salty like on the whites though because don't salt your whites and messed up
oh,
sacrilegious.
yeah. I think just to get back to it, James. Yeah, I think I'm like Joe. I think that's pretty much run its course. I don't see anything else going on the channel. I would love for there to be like the bogosphere. They keep coming out with cool stuff. I don't know if that's people just wanting something to be there or if it's actually there. But with James's object, it's pretty much done what it's going to do, and I think that's it.
Yeah, I think once everybody started saying that, it looked like he carved the shit in with a Dremel. He just gave up. It's like okay,
Yeah. So, well, as soon as he jumped the shark and started saying that he was getting letters from other countries that looked like something he printed off on his printer, and I mean, he went into some of the other stuff, like he got a rock in his windshield and said he was getting shot at. He said there was a bat, a creature behind him one time as he's driving down the road.
okay. Listen, I haven't been following him. If I knew any of this, I would have totally roasted this fucking guy. He's so hard. I'm sorry. It's literally insane.
But you listen to it every day, man, and you're like, okay. That's why I said the rotisserie chicken looked good compared to the rest of the stuff I was hearing. I'm like, dude, I could eat that chicken, but dude, I can't.
Doesn't it go to show how, like, respect for a person goes all about how credible you seem? Because I could sit there and tell you a ghost story, and and I could tell you a weird rock story. I could tell you like all these other like transcendental out of body experience stories, and like nobody bats an eye.
Yeah,
Nobody bats an eye. It's like oh, that's Joe. Yeah, that is what it is. But that guy, man, he just like seemed like full of shit.
yeah. That's what Limited said. Yeah, I'll be honest with you, man. Everybody deserves 5-10 minutes to get it out, and then we can decide. But I'll tell you, the first day we heard it, we were giggling.
Well, you knew he was full of shit from the get go, and the problem is you called him out, but people were like, "We haven't heard enough about this yet to make a decision on this."
Yeah,
But now that it's all out there, it's like, "Yeah, let it fly, let it fly."
I'm telling you, man, that was one of my favorite nights on the Traveling Fools channel, man. With that whole thing going on, I had so much fun laughing, dude. It was a great adventure. I'll tell you that right now, man. So yeah, we're doing Travel's Fools again tonight, man. Just so you guys know. It's going to be on at 7:30 Pacific Standard Time. We're going to go over there, man. I'm not sure what we're doing over there yet, Joe, but it seems like it's going to be fun.
Okay, nice. Yeah, send me a link or whatever and figure it out.
Yeah.
All right. So since we have a music episode today, I'm gonna spring. You're now gonna have to take 5 minutes to look for something. All right.
Oh, not Primus. You can't
No,
play
no, no,
that.
no, no. We're not gonna play Primus. I know how you feel about copyright. What I was thinking was that two of my songs seem abundantly relevant to the stuff
Oh yeah, yeah. What do you
that we
got?
discussed.
Let me
We
pull up your
played them
channel.
before. It's nothing new. If you pull up my channel, all right. The only thing I would ask is that if you can, when you share it, just pull up the closed captioning so the lyrics come up, because that's really kind of where I'm going with this. As I wrote these songs about my understanding of all this bullshit we talk about.
Okay, which one is it?
There's two. There's Fire the Spark and Aethernaut. I think that those two songs.
I see Aethernaut. I'm looking for. Hold on. Break the Sim.
Fire the Spark.
Reclaim.
Yeah, it's like a black icon and it says Fire the Spark.
Fire the Spark. See it? Okay.
Yeah,
hold on.
cool.
We'll play that one first. Give me a second.
Yeah, yeah. So this one's like pretty like chuggy heavy metal. But the lyrics are like really, I think, on point. When we were talking about that entropy exchange the other day, right?
Okay.
So yeah, check it out. All right, that's the end there. All right. So this song was all about just like the tear in the fabric, right? So like anything, once you have a tear in the fabric, it's like sticking your hand in sand, right? You pull your hand out, and what happens? All the little bits of sand from the surface, they fall into the hole, and it's about that, right? So basically, it's saying that anytime you create a void in something, it'll start to fill, but where it fills from, well, then that's empty. So then that's got to get filled by something else. And, the more and more this happens, the more it actually replicates itself from that initial form, which is actually very interesting. in a diffuse way. And then then there's a whole bunch of esotericism tied up into this as well, which tends to be pretty awesome because this goes into how everything is the same. You could talk about one thing and the other, and it has all of those meanings.
I'm sorry, Joe.
So,
Give me a second. I'm hearing sound.
Mhm.
Did you hear it? No. Okay.
No.
All right. Sorry.
So what's going on before we do the next one, man? Well, what's going on in the chat here?
So apparently James drilled into something on that big rod,
Mhm.
and they're saying that the thing went black and he is no longer there. So I was reading the chat on it. Let's see. And I don't know that I should play it on air for any reason. Let's see. It says they're waiting for an update. James, you should have done this publicly somewhere instead. Worried about him. Well, they're talking like he's no longer here anymore.
That's what I was kind of gathering out of it. I mean, is that video still up? I'm not saying that we should thoroughly play it, but I mean,
No, I
you know,
don't think
we
that we should.
we just called malarkey on the guy though, so I mean, it might be worth if it's not malarkey, then I mean,
All right, we'll give it a few seconds and see how it turns out. How about that?
yeah, all right. I mean, nonetheless, it doesn't sound graphic.
It's drillable. But yeah. Tell your friends, tell everybody. Just wait for everyone to get in here because this is where I might die. So yeah. Gloves.
Sorry, I'm just bringing it up.
Anyway, I guess we'll begin. I'm gonna go right in a hole there. Is this a good idea, guys? So over here, everybody says do it, say don't do it. Sponsor, there is no sponsor. I hope somebody will at least save this in case I die.
I mean, him deciding,
It's just making me feel
repeating that
bad
he's
already,
gonna
but
die
anyway.
doesn't really help the validity of it for me. But let's just see. Because why are you doing it then?
Let's start on one.
That was a weird reflection off the LED, I'll tell you that.
Oh, it was a weird reflection.
Oh, we can't put it in one. I guess we'll start at two.
Getting brighter and darker in the room.
Well, he's got a little LED light on the
Could be.
on the drill.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry.
I mean, you're shitting me, right? Like, you're actually... This is really, this is what we had to watch.
This is what's up there. I don't know what you want me to say about it.
No, not you. I'm just saying. You were worried about him over that guy?
It wasn't me. It was
No. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking to the chat.
Oh, okay.
They were worried about him over this?
Radiation doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. And he's definitely not getting like any sort of nominations for that. Like, yeah.
No. Are you saying no Academy Award? Okay.
There ain't no Academy Award for that one, man. Well, in the words of Chow, you know what I mean? Like, holy shit.
Oh Lord, we apologize for Joe and that. Oh man, I hope the guy's okay. You know what I mean?
Of course, I hope the guy's okay and everything, but I mean, like, yeah, he's fine. Moving on.
Yeah.
Like, I was reading that, I was like thinking to myself, like, legit? Yeah.
Did he show how he found it? He was digging in the sand with his hands and pulled it out of the sand. Which I've never been in the desert where it's been that soft unless there was water nearby, and there wasn't water anywhere nearby. So yeah, I don't know. But he did show it on his channel though. I will verify that he found it on there and then he showed it. Okay.
And it must have taken him forever to, scribe all that shit in with the Dremel, seeing as he was drilling at that thing for a second, didn't
Okay.
even seem to make it then.
So let's just go here, okay? If he's not with us, who put it on the internet? Okay. How did they end the video?
Well, he said it was alive. He said it was
Okay.
alive.
Well, yeah, even if it's alive, you still have to hit the end button. I mean, this doesn't shut off for you at a certain time.
Do you think his friends that were, he was like, all right, make sure everyone's in here, etc. Do you think they were like, yo, this has to get posted?
Okay. Well, there's okay, hold on. There was only like 1,000 views on his other one. And on this one, he got what, 6,000 views? Let's see. Yeah, he got a ton of views, 6,303. And he got 1,000 for him eating rotisserie chicken. If that's what it takes to get 1,000 views, dude, I'm up for eating some
I was gonna
rotisserie.
say, what the hell, man? I made white people tacos for everybody with a custom song, and I don't even think 100 people watched that.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
It was great. I spit the packet out. I was being a jerk the whole time.
Yeah, dude, I honestly, I wish James's thing turned out to be true, man, and it was something cool that we can all get behind, and we saw it flying and shit like that. It hasn't been something like that. It seems like something you'd fall into Mel's hole with. You know what I mean? And come flying out
Honestly,
like a broomstick.
I think Mel's Soul's more plausible. Way more plausible. The dog and all. You know what I mean?
Oh, the dog that came back out and was alive. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Oh. Yeah.
Boy, oh boy.
Oh, God bless Mel's hole.
Yeah.
Oh, so great.
Then there's Mel's hole, but then there's also the Indian hole.
Oh, there is.
That Mel went to. So you know what that means, don't you?
We got a lot of holes. There's
No,
more than one.
Right, we're still missing one hole. That's what that means.
We need the trifecta of the 3 holes.
Right, you need the 3 holes. Everybody knows that. Right, Ben? Right,
Oh,
Mike?
my. Dude, that's so great. So where's the other one? Is it a Russian hole? Yeah, there is a Russian hole. No, hold on. It was real tight, and they got down in there, and they went real
the
deep.
Russian hole was real tight, yeah.
Yeah. And they said it sounded like the devil was coming out of it.
Oh, well. Anyway, I was going to say something horrible. I'm just going to refrain from it. Something about a 14-year-old ballerina. I'm not going to say it.
Oh, dude. Don't even go there on this channel. I'm sorry.
No,
we're not into
no.
that. Oh. Mel's hole. Now we have the 3 holes. One's like demons coming out his butthole. That's great. Oh, all right, Joe. You ready to play some more music here? Let's go.
Yeah. Let's play the second one.
Okay. Get
All right.
that whole stain of what's going on. Okay.
I like this song. Like, as far as my lyric writing, I think this might be my Mona Lisa.
Okay. Hopefully I got the right one here for you.
Eighth or not, right?
Yeah.
All right.
I don't speak, I oscillate. Ride standing waves through the temple gate. Pinch my soul to the sacred hurts. Woke the void where the waveform hurts. Vortex breath through the spiral lung. Spun the word to the silence sung. I trace the echo in the mirror dome. A fractal pulse from the aether's home. Resonance writes in a nodal cage. Modulated thought on a mythic stage. My mind's attuned and lattice strung by sacred ratios unsung. I move through phase like gods through veils. My shadow drawn in interference trails. The myth was masked, the truth this way. A wave that bends what time can't weigh. I'm the Avenal. Tuned to the riff, where matter's born. Discerning monk in the world war torn. I bend the field with sacred spin, where frequencies end and gods begin. I serve perturbations of thought forgot. Carve sigils in the pressure knot. No static law, just flows to seed where vector paths and patterns meet. Torsion tongue with a somatic throat. Broadcast rise through a living mode. Map the choir in a spiral beam. Wolf Plato's cave in a lucid dream. There's no particle, just pulse and arc. No truth in stillness, only spark. And I am that chaos aligned. The overtone of the hidden mind. I phase conjugate the sacred chant. Feed ghost, I'm on it to the vacant plan. Your physics stuttered where I sang. Incoherent storms where empires hang.
Modulate flesh with an echo's kiss. Fracture the veil with the frequency hiss. No god, just gradients in a womb. I built a throne in a wave-shaped tomb.
Tuned to the riff, where matter's born. Discerning monk in a world war torn. I bend the field with sacred spin, where frequencies end and gods begin.
Bringing in the shallow form, where sound becomes the unseen swarm. And when the static world dissolves, I'll write the hum where truth evolves.
Nice.
Right?
I like that one better than the first one.
Yeah, I like that song a lot. And, you know, it's like use AI to put it together and everything, and still went into like a whole bunch of editing and all that afterwards. But you know, it took me like usually if it's weird if I get in the mood to like write something or write a song or write anything for that matter, I'll usually sit down and I'll write it as long as it takes me. You know, and then I put it down and then I go back and I look over it again. And usually by that second go at it, I've gotten whatever it is, the best I'm going to be able to do it for the most part, right? That's fine. Anyway, with that particular song, it took me like days and days to write, and I had to go back like repeatedly to like actually have it say what I wanted it to, as far as like, because I wanted it to like flow and sound good, but I also wanted it to talk about the science in a way that like didn't feel geeky. You know what I mean? And that was hard, you know. And if you were able to catch some of the lyrics there, this is the summation of it all. It really is. Like we knew it then too, but again, knowing something and the application are two different things, right? And we're still working on that application. Like we are. It's not there yet, right? But it's there yet. It's much more than it was at the time. At the time, it was only an idea.
Yeah.
You know, at the time, it was only like these thoughts. Like the stuff wasn't showing itself. Now it's showing itself. And there's something very interesting I saw. Had to do with Sean's fractal stuff. Um, had to do with the structuring the fractal stuff. I don't know. It'll probably come to me, but like I realized that that's not the only time that we see that, and then I was like, huh, that's funny. It's for the same reason, but yeah.
Yeah, hey, real quick, I just want to say to Simon, man, you're never disturbing us, man. We're all part of a family here. We all get along and have fun. So
Oh
chat
yeah.
whatever you want, man. Go for it.
Oh
We're
yeah,
all
yeah.
good.
Say whatever you want for sure. And like, thanks for bringing it up. I mean, honestly, it just was something to watch. I mean, I didn't know it even existed. I would have loved to see it regardless. Even, you know, so it's
Yeah,
cool.
it's all good, man. Oh, yeah, just interesting stuff, man. Yeah, we got a couple cool projects coming up, man. And I don't know if, Limited sent me something that was pretty cool, but I don't think I got it right. But I wanted to show you this anyway. Um,
Yeah, let's
let
do
me
it.
see. And this is something I've wanted to do for a while, and I had to do with some kind of ancient stuff. So, give me one real quick. So check that out. And on the outside, it's just pipe, and there's supposed to be holes on the inside. So it goes in everywhere. And if you recognize what this is, they have them in several different places in ancient culture, and they have little knobs on the corners of them, is what you'll see. And my simple idea for this was either you can run small Tesla coils out there, or you could see like a magnetic wiring, you know what I mean, a tight one, pretty thick, and then make a magnetic field and see if suspension happens in the center, kind of like what we were looking at with, oh God, come on, say the name, Nathan. The one with the two triangles put together.
Hmm.
It's like about, trying to tip my tongue. I can't think of the name of it.
The Utron.
No, that's not the
That's
one.
not the Utron. No.
No, I'll figure it out.
Oh,
Anyway, it's kind of interesting. Yeah, I just thought it was a cool experiment. I want to see if the ball magnet was suspended in the center of it based on magnetic fields being all around it.
well, I mean, yeah, that's interesting. And this is gonna be a prime example as well of multiple individual magnetic fields forming to create the larger composite field. Which is cool. Like I always think that's cool.
I just think it's kind of a fun project. So I'll get with Limited again and see where he's going with it. So I sent him some stuff and he'll get back to me, and then we'll talk about it. Merkaba is what I was thinking.
Oh, Merkaba. Okay, yeah,
You,
yeah.
you remember how Merkaba put all the different wires around it? And
Mhm,
then in the center, he made the magnet spin and everything.
mhm.
And then he did mercury in there and stuff like that. I kind of want to see if it correlates a little bit.
Nice. Yeah, no, it'd be interesting to know. How do you intend on, showing the magnet and suspension?
It, like I said, in the center of all these pipe looking things, it's supposed to be a hole. I couldn't get my CAD to put the hole in.
Oh, I
So,
got you. Okay.
so you could be able to see through the whole thing.
Okay.
And once they're all on there, man, I'm just going to kind of throw it in and see if it works.
Okay. Yep.
It
No.
might do
Sounds
nothing. It
good.
might do something. It might need a ton of power and fry it all down. Who knows? I just thought it was something interesting that I wouldn't mind winding.
So hold tight though, 1 second, because I have a train of thought here that might be cause of issue. Okay. It has to do with polarity, right? So even though you have all the magnetic fields and everything, like there's still going to be variable polarities, right? Pretty much, like you'd have to have a polarity
No.
sequence of
So
these things.
if you wind it one way, it goes north to the top, south to the bottom. You wind it the other way, it goes reverse. So based on the direction you wind it, you'll know which side's north at all times. And you can wind them all south on the inside or all north on the inside, giving the ability to shove all of that in one direction through
Okay, so
every.
do you see the problem with that?
Well, it could just be a massive field that's just screwed.
Well, hold on, because if it's going to have an overall polarity, and the magnet that you put in the center is also going to have a polarity,
I'll have
because
a
it's
north
not
and south.
necessarily in
Yeah.
the center of the field, it's going to have an attractive or repulsive force, one or the other, and it's going to just end up doing whatever that does when it's on.
Maybe I should
So,
throw BBs in there or something.
I mean, that could no, because well, yeah, I mean that could be, because then you'd have attractive forces from all directions.
Yeah, it
So
wouldn't have the magnetic field in it.
the trick to it would be to suspend the BB in the center and then pull away whatever is holding it while it's on, and then getting it to float. Because if you start it at any one point, then it's just going to pull to the closest one. So you have to set it and then take it away.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like fishing. You go fishing,
Yeah,
see if you get a tug on the reel.
you're going to be sitting in there for like 6 hours with like a piece of plastic tweezers and a steel BB, like literally going like this until like you feel something a little different. Then you're gonna try to drop it, it's gonna fall, and then you're gonna go again. And this is gonna be it's gonna be you for 6 hours, and then it's gonna stay for a second. You're gonna go to get your fucking camera because you had both your hands, working, and then it's gonna fall, and then you can tell us all that happened.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Yeah, well, it could work, could do nothing, man. I mean, it's all about finding out, isn't it?
Do it, man. It's fun. Print the shit. Make it happen. It's like you don't know. I don't do
It,
anything. I just talk and either agree or disagree with things. And who am I?
well, it wouldn't. Yeah, it wouldn't be very big. It'd be, like a baseball size.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I can make the little tubes a little longer to get a little bit more wire on there, but yeah, I don't see anything more than that. And I think that in itself would be good enough for having something in there. I don't know. We'll see, man. I got another cool experiment to go along with this one. I don't want to exactly say yet,
Yeah.
but it's going to be kind of mind blowing if it works. If I can pull off the part that I need to, it's just going to totally be trick.
I mean, I think so, and I think that some people might be onto it. So,
Well, of course they would be onto us if they knew exactly what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? They come over to my house and look at it. Yeah. Where is Dispatch, by the way? I haven't seen him today.
yeah. I don't know. He was telling me earlier that he's been feeding you palm juice for the last week, so you'd stop dying on him.
Oh,
So,
because I kept coughing and I couldn't get rid of that cough. By the way, that palm juice is totally awesome.
I love palm juice, man. That stuff's great.
Oh, dude, he got rid of that throat problem. I'll tell
Oh,
you
no
that right
kidding.
now.
Nice.
Yeah, Dispatch is awesome, brother. Yeah.
Yep,
So,
he's a good guy.
yeah. So, yeah, we'll work on that one. I want to make sure that it's going to work, or so that there's no pressure on it before I show it. That's it, because it takes a lot of technical crap to put that thing together. So,
Mhm.
but I will tell you this: on my 3D prints, I'm gonna give myself a selfless plug here. I made a 3D printing channel, and I put it in the description of the video. And what I do is go through my CAD and show you exactly how I make things. And I actually made some pretty cool things on there, man. And one of them is all my 3D prints for my geometry coils. So you go on there and you can learn how to build those things. But the printer's working better now. So I straightened some things out, replaced some parts. Um, and now instead of getting a bunch of garbage hanging over, we're going to sand it forever. Dude, I could wind it just the way it is. I can glue it and wind it. The only sanding I'd have to do is in between the layers where they connect, just because that one's usually a little off because it sits on the bed. But other than that, man, it perfect. Just perfect coming out. And it's gonna make for a way better experience. And then um I was asked by oh, now I'm having troubles again. Man, it's a long day. I was asked to make a half of a Utron, and I did. And I put it up on there, and I'm going to be putting the epoxy on it and running it. And I suspect that was because they wanted it in two halves where they could put it in the OST car device and do the spinning capacitors with it. So you never know, man. You might see my stuff in somebody else's experiment soon enough.
Yeah, man, that would be cool. I'm still surprised that you haven't gotten into like resin and stuff like that, because I know it's involved. I know it's messy and a lot of things to consider, but just I feel like the possibilities with it at a very entry level is not only for like resolution and all that sort of stuff. Forget that. That's not where you're at. But like the fact that you can mix like very fine particulate into the resin itself and basically make yourself pseudo metamaterials out of it. I mean, it just seems like whenever you start talking about like bismuth all the time and all these different materials that you brought up, it's a really interesting way to start bringing some material element into the structure. So the structure is not just structure at that point. It has dynamic properties. And I think that's again, I think it's a little surprising that that's not something you've done already. But
It's the
um,
chemical process that goes on when you do it. That's why. And I know it's confined. I know it goes in a certain area. I say stuff like that. I'm not in a place where that would be a good thing. You know what I mean?
okay.
Like my son doesn't even walk in here because I start Tesla coils up, right? He would never
Oh well,
walk
yeah,
in
what
here if
you're
I.
doing is way more harmful for what it's worth
Oh, I know that, but not to
than that. Like
him.
the ozone will, you know.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. I'm just saying the resin and stuff. It takes It's a chemical process, and
Yeah.
I much prefer throwing the roll on there and just going for it. And that's just a personal thing. I do agree with you 100% that they would be better off the way you're saying it than any other way.
I
But
mean, I'm not abundantly. I mean, I know you print mostly in PLA, and PLA is pretty, inert in terms of its like, what it puts off. But like, you print ABS and stuff like that. Like, I mean, not for anything. That's like, I'm
might
not
as well,
convinced
yeah.
that any of that's any better for you than that.
I agree.
I think that the number one reason people don't like the resin stuff because of the chemical process, like you're saying, has actually nothing at all to do with the resin, because the resin doesn't really gas off like that. I mean, it's UV reactive, right? It's catalyzing as the UV hits it, and then it's a very, very quick process. And I'm not sure that it's putting out a lot of stuff. I think where people get tied up is the alcohol washes, because you have to use like 90% or better isopropyl alcohol, and that stuff is swishing around. And I mean, you know, that you smell in the air. But unless if you're consuming it, it's not really toxic.
No,
You
no,
know,
it's not that. It's the fact that you have to use the chemicals to do all this stuff.
yeah.
That's what it is. There's a whole thing involved there.
Okay.
Like that's just my opinion on it.
Well, I
It
get it.
has nothing to do with toxicity. That's my son. He won't come in here if there's gasoline in the garage. Okay, I mean
Yeah.
weird
Listen,
stuff like
I
that.
didn't raise the boy Nathan.
Come on now.
I love you, bro. Yeah.
Oh man.
I think
Yeah.
that's my problem is I like the smell of gasoline.
Oh well.
Get a little lacquer head.
Who doesn't work on an old car and just get you know what I mean? Natural. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Get some, you change your oil and stuff, get a little burnt hydrocarbon, you know, embedded into your skin for several days. Nothing like it.
Speaking about cars, man, you have to tune your car by ear, and sometimes you know what I mean, moving the distributor and stuff like that. There's no difference in that. It's just tuning it into like a resonance form or sympathetic resonance with the pistons and everything. You know what I mean? It's no different in there. You're getting it to run perfectly smooth.
If you ever spin a top with your fingers like that, or if you're a Jew and you like to play dreidel, one or the other, doesn't really matter. Same thing, right? You'll notice it will make a sound if you got a good spin, and it's a
Mm.
specific sound. and it's before it ever stabilizes, right? So you spin the thing, it's about to wobble around, it's about to come up. You could hear it way before it comes up. If you don't hear it, it never comes up.
I never listened for that. I'll have to listen.
Oh yeah, it woos. It goes woo. You know what I mean? Like it's got a little woo sound.
Yeah, I had somebody tell me about the markers on my board when I draw on it. Joe, I can't hear it. Like,
The squeak.
yeah, you hear all the squeakers. I literally stand right next to it. I can't hear it. That's how bad my hearing is. And yeah, so I'm sitting there listening, going, okay, do I edit that out? How do I do that? You know what I mean, for other people? And I just thought to myself, I was sitting there doing it. I'm going, you know, Nathan, you heard none of that. Like, you literally did not hear any. You heard the motorcycle go by, but you heard none of the squeaking on the board. I'm like, dude, you are really like hearing impaired there, buddy.
Yeah, if you probably got like a noise canceling boom mic or something like that. That way it's like directed at you and you talk toward it, and then that would
Well, I
probably get
got
rid
the
of
one that goes on your shirt.
it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one. So it stays with me because when I used to use my old camera and you used to talk, then everybody would complain that the sound sucked, that the image sucked. You know what I mean? They're like, it felt like a 1980s VHS tape when they watched me. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
man.
bad.
Well, you know what? You get the point out there, and you do a good job doing it. So don't stop just because of the squeak. Like, then take
I'm
your
like,
headphones off. You know what I mean? It's not that annoying. Like, come on.
so funny, dude. Yeah. I do that now and I'm sitting there and I'm making a video, right? And I'm going over narrating as I do it. And now that my mic's fixed and all the right software's in it, you can hear it every time I hit the post or hit anything or touch my table. I'm sure everybody hears it now. And it drives me absolutely nuts because it goes right into my headphones now. And I'm like, okay, now I'm hearing it. Like every little sound, every little noise. Like I'll hit the spring over here. You hear that?
Yeah.
That's what happens, and the cat comes by and starts chewing on it. You know what I mean? And it's just going like this. And I'm like, Jesus. Normally, I would never hear it. Now I hear everything.
Well, all I gotta say is don't change the audio for what it is. If there's a way to mitigate it, just do that because, like I watch some videos sometimes, and even though they're great videos, like, they either dub it, they like voiceover or something like that, to eliminate things like that, and it just doesn't hit the same. And it reminds me of a certain genre of entertainment that if the voices don't match up with what you're seeing, you're like, this just kind of lost it for me.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah,
how come her mouth ain't moving, but I hear the squeal?
yeah.
It's like that doesn't make any sense.
Stop watching those '70s VHSs. Oh man.
It's bad when you're like, oh, I've heard this soundtrack before, but the video is different.
Oh man.
I like to make funny.
Oh, it's great, man. Yeah, it's all good, man. Yeah, I started doing a whole bunch of other stuff lately, man. Trying to just get everything going. Now that it's started, it's become a lot easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Well,
kind of the hard.
you're up and moving and stuff again for a while. I
Yeah,
was
I wasn't
worried
doing
about you.
anything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was worried about you, man. It was like, how we doing?
but it was bad, man. You know, swollen legs, screwed up back. It's just never fun.
Yep.
So, yeah, doing good now.
Yep.
Hey,
Yep.
go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. I was gonna say, worth noting while we're on that subject, so people know and stay in the loop, right? There is more RAV stuff going on right now, but it's happening in the background. Okay, so there's stuff to come. Things are in the process of also getting figured out. Things are also moving forward. There's a lot of stuff to be excited about. It's just not there yet to start talking about. And we've reached a point where Sean likes to be certain about things, and we like to be certain about things before we start showing the new stuff. So the main thing here is I just want to reassure people that have been following that whole situation that there's lots of stuff that's in the pipe that's going to be coming out on it. It's stuff to be very, very excited about,
Well,
but it's just in process. So
not just that. I think Sean needs to finish writing his paper on it. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
well, that's what it boils down to is, the
Yeah.
understanding of it. Yeah, the
Yeah.
paper's got to
Well,
get done and, it'll get shown, but the stuff is happening.
yeah, yeah. I mean, put his paper out there so he gets the credit for it, and then show everything. You know what I mean? And then that way, everybody's happy. Sean gets a proper credit because, dude, he puts a lot of money, time, and effort into all this stuff that he
Oh,
does.
yeah, it does.
And the fact that I know he's not feeling well half the time, and then he gets over there and does it anyway, and it's a dedication that he puts in. I really want to see the paper come out that he does, and for him to get all the credit in the world for this thing because it's his baby.
Absolutely.
And then we'll show everything off. You know what I mean? And Joe and I had talked about it. We're doing kind of a little side project over there on this thing too. So yeah, it's gonna be good, man. Hey, there's
Yeah, it's just
dispatch.
that we go heavy on this thing all the time. And whenever we're not coming out with the new
Yeah.
stuff, I don't want people to lose interest or think we forgot or think that we're just referring back to stuff we've shown. There's new stuff, it's coming, but it's going to be a little while. But I just want to say that the things that we've seen from Sean yeah, it's something worth hanging in there for. That's what I'm going to say.
Oh, dude, it's mind blowing.
It's gonna anybody that doubted us at first, and the things we said and the things we claimed, they're gonna see, as if the snow thing wasn't enough when we dropped that big one. Like that seems to be tip of the iceberg. So, little hype, but I wouldn't hype it if I thought it was gonna disappoint. I wouldn't do that. So,
Right on. Hey, Lulu. And then
oh, look at this.
Lulu's here, and dispatch came by. Usually the first one here. So yeah, no, we got some cool stuff coming on that, man. That whole thing is just Sean went faster than any one of us could ever think that you could. You know what I mean? On that project, it was awesome.
And where I want to give Sean ultimate credit is, sometimes he comes up with things that even catches me off guard as to like I don't understand the direction that he's going with it, like but he has like a train of thought that's ongoing that because he's doing the experimentation, it's probably fluid to him. You know what I mean? It
Oh
seems
yeah,
like
yeah.
the logical next step. But like being on the receiving end, and we see the experiments and we talk about these things on the back end and stuff to try to make sense of it all. And then I'm just sitting there like I don't really understand why he's doing this though. Like I don't see where he's going with this. But then like 3-4 days later, he'll come out with the variation of that experiment that then shows something else, and it's either something like new or it's something that just simply goes to show what we've been saying all along, like just to further display it in a more obvious and apparent fashion, right? And it's this time and time again, and it's usually um directions that neither Nathan or myself would think of, frankly.
Hmm.
you know
I agree with
so
that.
like just an incredible talent he has, and I know we're all looking forward to the paper, but we're also really excited to show you what it is. Like, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I definitely agree with that, Joe. Definitely
Yeah,
got some
man.
cool stuff coming up, man. And then, dude, we're about to get into pulse motors, Joe. Get ready, because I got some stuff to work on this morning for my little project, but I also have those to work on for the coils. I already have the wheel. I got two of them, as a matter of fact, to start us off. I got the sensors in, all the welding rods are here to put inside of it. I have the shrink tube to go over it, like Mike suggested, and then I have one without it. There's a lot of stuff. The piezos came in, Mike recommended. I have to build a spark gap is one of the only things that he didn't, I couldn't find, you know what I mean, just to purchase one.
Mhm.
But that's it. And the coils are easy to wind. They're not like my Tesla coils. It's, you know what I mean, take two of the wires here, wind it all, you know, together in one little thing and we're done. I'm thinking, man, that's so easy. I'm used to, you know, little tiny, yeah, so much easier. So yeah, Papa Bale's stuff in there, man. Some of the stuff that he's doing, I'm going to incorporate in what I do too. So I'm excited about that, man, because I'm trying to fill out all the portfolio stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I got people that tell me, "What do you know about this experiment? You've never done it." And I go, "Okay, well, let's find out." Right? So let me do it, and then once it's done, it sits there, and I can bring it out and tune it anytime I want to. So
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I think, and this is just an opinion, but it's been my opinion for a while. When it comes down to the pulse motor stuff and just like making anything spin like that, um, it's really going to come down to two things that are pretty critical. It's going to come down to geometry relationship, right? There's going to be an angle of interaction of both points.
mhm.
That has to be the right angles of interaction. The second thing is more or less you got to run the thing with like an ECU, you know, uh, which is able to get the feedback and then respond and feedback and respond. If you have that feedback response type circuit, the thing will go on efficiently forever. And as soon as it builds up a certain amount, it cut off entirely. Right. I
Yeah,
mean, it's exponentially efficient in that regard. And the harder the spike, the bigger the spike, the harder the push. The harder the push, the less it actually has to fire. So the timing could actually change. And if you had some type of basic program slash circuit that actually feedback in response to that, I mean, you would see the efficiency levels go through the roof, like right off the bat. If you just weren't trying to work off of mechanical, well, semi-mechanical because it's electronic, but it's still mechanical timing at that point. You're looking at geometries being equal to a certain frequency rate, and that's your determining factor, which would be a huge determining factor in the angle of interaction. You see how that goes?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
all the variables, they all have to go in sync with the optimal, depending on what it all is. So,
Well, some of the cool stuff that comes out of this too, Joe, is we'll be able to get into eddy current motors. That's something
mhm.
exciting later on. So as
that
long
is
as
that is cool, man. Hmm.
yeah, so we got to learn the pulse motor first and how motors work and react. You know what I mean? Get the little small details that nobody usually tells you, and then go into that because then it's a total different world, and you get
Hmm.
all the rest of the fields that we talk about all the time, and now we see them interacting.
Well, the cool thing about eddy currents is there's more of them.
Yeah,
In the field geometries, there's more of them, and because they're secondary to the primary, they it's kind of like a simulated gear. You know, you'd have to work on that secondary a lot harder to stop the primary. You know, so that's what's interesting about that.
yeah. They make MHD, huh? Well,
They
we
do.
could.
I
Oh my
think the
God,
number's 8, bro. I think the number's 8. I think
MHD.
I think you have 8 nodular eddy current fields in a
Oh,
toroidal field.
okay.
So that's you'd have 4 on one equatorial plane and 4 on the other equatorial plane, all counter rotational.
What was that device show that they used that they were using sound or something to propel it in space? Did you? I don't think it's the MHD,
There's
was it?
there's no sound in space, Nathan.
No, inside the device.
I'm a physicist. There's no sound in space. What?
That's not true, actually.
No shit. What do you think I said it like with a dumb look on my face, waving my hand at me? Anyway,
Is it MD or not
I mean,
MD? I'm
I
trying
mean,
to
what
think
is,
of the name of it. Okay, so
are you
basically,
talking about MHD? Because MHD is,
well,
stuff we've been talking about all along.
okay, so they basically use resonance and sound in order to hit the side of the thing and get this thing to propel forward. That's what I remember about it. and everybody always talks about it when it comes to NASA and stuff like that. And they're talking about propulsion device. I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. With that RAV, we can get so much more propulsion out of something. You know what I mean? Just understanding where it goes and what we're talking about with the rock earlier. If you understood that whole conversation, you understand propulsion in what that RAV actually does if you put it in the right angle.
All right, I'm going to say the quiet part out loud, man. Where do you think the energy comes from in the RAV? There's a lot of different places. I will tell you that, okay? But there's one main thing, right? What's the Big Bang? Why the Big Bang? Well, you had a singularity and expands, right?
Mm-hmm.
Expanding, expanding, expanding. Well, what happens when it brings back to a state of singularity and it needs to blast out, but then it gets pulled back in? It's blast out, pull back in, blast out, pull back in. What happens when something mixes and then unmixes and mixes and unmixes, right? It's a huge energy release every single time. You see? So when you separate the differentials and you bring them into proximity with each other, they naturally want to mix. They're withheld from mixing except for in a controlled state. When they mix in a controlled state, okay, they go into there's an energy release and then they get pulled back out and it's the inverse. Okay, and then it's allowed to repeat again. So by allowing things to mix and then separating them and mix and separate them, you're constantly creating, you're utilizing the natural forces to create usable energy. That's
Hmm.
it's what it does, man.
Interesting.
That's what the energy exchange is. I've simply referred to it as an energy exchange. But when it exchanges, what is it doing? Well, I said it comes back, doesn't it? Well, if it mixes, how does it come back? Well, that's because it mixes and then it separates back out. It's that mixing and separating that's where the extra is coming from, is that interaction. It literally is the Big Bang and then reversing and then happening again and again and again and again.
Hmm.
Very small scale.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was just thinking about this in like thrusters in that RAV and how it went from one RAV to the next, from one to, you know what I mean? You think about how the thruster actually you want it to work, and we talk about the explosive nature of the uh, how do I say this, the coherence and then the distortion of it, and then boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean? There's definitely some propulsion in there.
Well, it's funny because they see things in the sky that makes these little sputtery donut things, and they're like, "It's fast." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And they look at all the vapor that comes out the back, and it's just like little donut vapor clouds, like boop, 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 boop. Well, how do you think? Why do you think it's coming out in a pulse? Well, I hate to tell you, if you're running injection, through a jet turbine or even a ramjet, even a scramjet, like no matter how you run it, it's a linear burn. It's literally using its own momentum to feed the fuel, to combust the fuel, to use that as further propulsion. You don't get pulsy donuts. You get
yeah.
pulsy donuts with alternate propulsion. That's how that goes. Because you can't stall something out and then start it back up, like that. Uh, you know what I mean? Like that's in a state of like constant combustion.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting. Wow. All right. Yeah, we got some good stuff going on, man. A lot of cool things. So it's going to be fun. So it's just finding the time to build everything now. So
Hmm.
this weekend we'll be setting some stuff up, man. Hopefully get some cool stuff. Um, and like I said, I want to be running pulse winners by next week. I want to fish out my special experiment within 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Um, God, I think the numbers on that are going to come out well too, Joe. I was looking at it and then I was doing the math on it, and I think I'm close. So I think the residence I'll put it in is close to 140 to 130, which I think is right in the ballpark. You know what I mean?
Nice.
So, and that's for the stuff that I was making. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So yeah. Oh, that's gonna be fun.
I'm looking forward to it, man. You always make cool stuff, and we're all here for it.
Yeah, I wish there was like 2 or 3 of me. You know what I mean? Then it would go by quick. It would be like every
Well,
day. Oh, something new.
I'm not really one to talk about people's pitfalls on, in public, but you do have a tendency of undertaking quite a few projects at a time.
Oh, I know. I know.
So,
Yes, I do. Well,
yeah,
because I like to work on something different every day. You know what I mean? The
I get
same
it.
stuff gets so redundant.
I know it does, especially when it's along the same lines.
Well, yeah, because yeah, if you're not able to think and grow your mind and come back to it, you just sit there and do the same thing, and
The
it's mind numbing.
diversity is what makes you better at everything, man. Like, and
Yeah,
that's my opinion on it. If you sit there and all you do is paint, you know, you will only be as good as, whatever. But you take that and then you apply it somewhere else, you learn something new, and then you bring it back into what you're doing. Like, now I can do this better, even though I wasn't doing it.
yeah. All right, guys. We wish James well. Hopefully he comes back and we see him again in another video. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hopefully he's full of shit.
yeah, in a good way.
Yeah,
All right, guys. I want to thank everybody in the chat, man. You guys have been awesome today. Thank you for hanging out with us, man. And we're gonna see Mike Faraday here soon on his channel. He's got a live tonight.
right on.
And then Traveling Fools also has a live tonight. So, guys, busy night for me, great night for everybody. So, with that said, have a good night, guys.
Peace and love.
The old man will. The old man will. The old man will. The old man builds. The old man builds is broken in the head. People not seeing reality has put them in the red. With conscious and spirituality restricted from the norm and replaced with the ignorance of basic magnetic form. The geometry of God keeps running through his head. That's what makes old man builds broken in the head. The old man builds. The old man builds. Spheres of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. Fears of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds. 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 Fears of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds.